Hello, my wonderful English learners. Welcome back to our storytelling journey. Let me ask you something. Look around you right now. Do you see a PlayStation? Maybe a Sony camera? Perhaps you're listening to music on headphones or watching a movie. If you do, you're experiencing the dreams of two men who started with absolutely nothing. Picture this. The year is 1945. Japan has just lost World War II. The cities are in ruins. People are hungry, homeless, and hopeless. Buildings are destroyed. The economy has collapsed. In this chaos, in a small, damaged room with no windows, no heat, and broken chairs, two men sat together and made a promise that seemed impossible. "We will not follow the world," they said. "We will lead it." Let me teach you this word, ruins, R-U-I-N-S. Ruins means buildings or places that have been destroyed or badly damaged. Those two men were Masaru Ibuka and Akio Morita, and their impossible dream became Sony, one of the most powerful companies on Earth. Today, I want to tell you their incredible story. A story of how failure became success, how betrayal became triumph, and how a burnt room became a global empire. Are you ready to discover how dreams can survive even in the darkest times? Let's begin this amazing journey together.
The year was 1946, just 1 year after the war ended. Tokyo looked like a graveyard of broken concrete and twisted metal. Graveyard means a place where dead people are buried. Here, it means Tokyo looked dead and destroyed. Masaru Ibuka was an engineer with curious eyes and gentle hands. He had lost everything in the war, his family's money, his previous company, even his home, but he had not lost his spirit. Spirit means the part of you that never gives up, your inner strength. Ibuka found a tiny space inside a damaged department store. The room was only 60 square meters, about the size of a small kitchen. There were no windows, no fan, no heater. Just burnt bricks, broken chairs, and something much more powerful, big dreams. He started the Tokyo Telecommunications Research Institute, a very long name for a very small company with only 8 employees. Telecommunications, Telecommunications. This means technology that helps people communicate over long distances, like phones and radios. But Ibuka had a philosophy that would change everything. If something already exists, it can be made better. Meanwhile, across the city, Akio Morita was dreaming too. Morita came from a wealthy family that owned a sake brewing business for 400 years. But Morita didn't want to make alcohol. He wanted to make the future. Sake is a traditional Japanese alcoholic drink made from rice. Morita was a visionary. A visionary is someone who can imagine the future and see possibilities that others cannot see. He believed that Japan, even in its destroyed state, could become a global symbol of innovation. Innovation means creating new ideas, methods, or products that have never existed before. When these two men met,
something magical happened. Ibuka was the engineer who could build anything. Morita was the businessman who could sell anything. Together, they were unstoppable. Their first product was a complete disaster. They tried to make a rice cooker, a machine to cook rice automatically. It seemed like a perfect idea for busy Japanese families. But their rice cooker burned the rice. It cooked too hot, too fast, too unevenly. Customers bought it, tried it once, and returned it immediately. Disaster means a complete failure, something that goes terribly wrong. Most people would have given up, but Ibuka and Morita looked at each other and said, "We failed. So what? Let's try again." This became their motto. Failure is not the end, it's information. Motto means a short phrase that expresses your beliefs or principles.
In 1952, Ibuka heard about something revolutionary, the transistor. This tiny device could make radios smaller, lighter, and more portable. Portable means easy to carry from place to place. But there was a problem. All the experts said it was impossible to make a good transistor radio. The Japanese government said they didn't have the right materials. Electronics companies laughed at the idea. Impossible, they said. Japan cannot compete with American technology. But Ibuka and Morita were obsessed. Obsessed means thinking about something all the time and being determined to achieve it. They worked day and night. They used black market parts, broken pieces, and leftover wires from the war. When they couldn't buy what they needed, they built it themselves. Black market means buying and selling things illegally or secretly. In 1955, after 3 years of failures and setbacks, they created Japan's first transistor radio. It was small enough to fit in your pocket. It was light enough to carry anywhere. And the sound quality was beautiful. But now came the biggest challenge, selling it to the world. Akio Morita traveled to the United States with their little radio. He went from store to store, city to city, showing their invention. The response was always the same: rejection. Rejection means saying no, refusing to accept something. Japanese radio? That won't sell here, store owners said. American customers want American products. Japanese means cheap and low quality. Some people laughed at Morita. Others wouldn't even look at his radio. But Morita didn't give up. He studied American culture. He learned that young people wanted freedom, mobility, and independence. They didn't want to sit in their living rooms listening to big, heavy radios. They wanted to take their music everywhere. Mobility means the ability to move around easily. So, Morita changed his sales approach. Instead of talking about technology, he talked about lifestyle. This radio is not just a machine, it's freedom. You can listen to music in the park, on the beach, in your bedroom. You are not tied to one place anymore. Slowly, some stores began to order their radios. Then, more stores. Then, radio stations began talking about the amazing little radio from Japan. Within 2 years, Sony was selling thousands of transistor radios in America. But their biggest breakthrough was still coming. By 1979, Sony had become successful, but Akio Morita had a crazy new idea. He wanted to create a small cassette player just for headphones, no speakers, no recording button, just music, just listening. Cassette was an old technology for recording and playing music before CDs and digital music. When Morita presented this idea to his team, they thought he had lost his mind. "Useless," they said. "Why would anyone want a music player without speakers? How can you share music with friends? Who wants to walk around with headphones? People will think you're weird." Weird means strange or unusual in a way that people don't understand. But Morita didn't see a machine. He saw a new lifestyle. He imagined people listening privately on trains, in parks, in their rooms. He saw teenagers walking down the street with their own personal soundtrack. He envisioned a world where everyone could have their own private concert wherever they went. Soundtrack means the music that plays during a movie, or here, the music that goes with your daily life. Against his team's advice, Morita ordered the production of 30,000 units. He called it the Walkman. The marketing team was terrified. They had no idea how to sell a product that had no speakers. The first day of sales was terrible. Almost nobody bought it. But Morita had a secret weapon. He believed in his vision so strongly that he started giving Walkmans to young people for free. He asked them to try it for 1 week. Something magical happened. After 1 week, these young people didn't want to give the Walkman back. They had experienced something completely new: personal music. Personal music means music that only you can hear, your own private listening experience. For the first time in human history, you could walk down the street with your own music in your own world without disturbing anyone else. Word spread quickly. Word spread means information traveled from person to person. Young people started buying Walkmans. Then their friends wanted them. Then their parents wanted them. Within 1 year, the Walkman became a global phenomenon. Phenomenon means something extraordinary that everyone talks about. Sony sold over 400 million Walkmans worldwide. They didn't just create a product, they changed human behavior. They invented the concept of personal, portable music. But Sony's greatest triumph was still ahead of them.
In 1988, Sony made a deal with Nintendo, the famous video game company. They would work together to create a new gaming system that used both Nintendo cartridges and Sony's CD-ROM technology. Cartridges are small plastic cases that contain video games, like the ones used in old Nintendo systems. Sony engineer Ken Kutaragi led the project. He was passionate about creating a gaming system so powerful that people would feel like they're inside the game. For 3 years, Sony invested millions of dollars and thousands of hours developing this partnership.
Then came the betrayal. Betrayal means when someone you trust breaks their promise and acts against you. In 1991, at a major electronics show in Chicago, Nintendo made a shocking announcement. They had canceled their partnership with Sony and instead signed a deal with Philips, a Dutch company. Sony's executives learned about this betrayal by watching it on live television, just like everyone else in the world. The humiliation was crushing. Humiliation means feeling extremely embarrassed and ashamed in front of other people. Sony had spent millions of dollars, shared their technology, and trusted Nintendo completely. In return, Nintendo had stabbed them in the back publicly. Stabbed them in the back is an expression meaning betrayed them cruelly. Most companies would have fought with lawyers or given up completely. But Sony made a different choice. They decided to fight Nintendo with power, not words. If Nintendo doesn't want to work with us, Sony's leadership said, then we'll create our own gaming system, and we'll make it so good that we'll defeat them. Ken Kutaragi and his team poured all their anger, disappointment, and determination into creating something revolutionary. Revolutionary means completely new and changing everything. They called it the PlayStation. The PlayStation wasn't just a gaming console. It was a full entertainment machine. It had revolutionary 3D graphics, CD-ROM loading for bigger games, and sound quality that had never been heard in gaming before. 3D graphics means images that look three-dimensional, like they have depth and you could reach into them. But most importantly, Sony understood something Nintendo didn't. Gaming was becoming more than just children's entertainment. It was becoming a lifestyle for teenagers and adults too. Sony marketed the PlayStation to everyone, kids, teenagers, and adults. They positioned gaming as cool, sophisticated, and socially acceptable. Sophisticated means refined, intelligent, and appealing to educated people. The results were extraordinary. The PlayStation officially defeated Nintendo in global console sales. It became more than a product. It became a movement. Gaming culture exploded. People spent hours exploring virtual worlds, competing with friends, and experiencing interactive stories. Sony had turned their greatest betrayal into their greatest triumph. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can learn more English through stories with us.
By the 1990s, Sony realized something profound. If you own the device, you can make money. But if you also own the content, you can build a kingdom. Content means the movies, music, games, and stories that people want to experience. Kingdom here means a powerful empire or domain that you control.
Sony made a bold, dangerous, and brilliant move. In 1989, they bought Columbia Pictures, a major Hollywood movie studio, for $3.4 billion. Critics laughed. A Japanese electronics company making Hollywood movies? Impossible! But Sony understood the future before anyone else. They saw that entertainment would become global, digital, and interconnected. Interconnected means connected to each other in a network or system. Sony Pictures began producing blockbuster movies like Spider-Man, Men in Black, and hundreds of others. They became one of the top 5 movie studios in the world. At the same time, Sony Music Entertainment signed global superstars like Michael Jackson, Beyoncé, and Adele. They became one of the largest record labels on Earth. Sony now controlled the entire entertainment experience. The PlayStation for gaming, Sony Pictures for movies, Sony Music for songs, and Sony Electronics for TVs, cameras, and headphones. They weren't just selling products anymore. They were crafting experiences. Crafting experiences means carefully creating memorable moments and emotions for people. A single story could become a video game, a movie, and a soundtrack all at once. If you played Spider-Man on PlayStation, watched Spider-Man in theaters, and listened to the Spider-Man soundtrack on your Sony headphones, Sony made money from every single moment. They had built what they always dreamed of, a complete entertainment ecosystem. Ecosystem means a system where different parts work together and support each other. Today, Sony is worth more than many countries' entire economies. From that burnt room in 1946 to global empire in 2024, this transformation seems impossible, but it happened through clear principles. Sony's story teaches us powerful lessons. You don't need everything to start. Ibuka and Morita started with nothing but dreams and determination. If they reject you, rebuild yourself. When Nintendo betrayed them, Sony didn't cry. They created the PlayStation. Never sell your name for money. When American distributors offered millions for radios without Sony's name, Morita said no. He understood that reputation is more valuable than immediate profit. If you fail, try again, then fly. Every failure, the rice cooker, early rejections, setbacks, became information that made them stronger. Lead with emotion, not just machines. Sony didn't just make electronics. They made dreams, experiences, and feelings. Most importantly, protect your originality. Sony created what never existed before: the Walkman, the PlayStation, personal entertainment. Originality means being creative and unique, not copying others. From hungry, homeless, and hopeless to a company that touches billions of lives every day, Sony proved that your start does not decide your finish.
Let me summarize this incredible journey from rubble to empire. Sony's amazing story includes these key moments. Starting from nothing, two men in a burnt room after World War II. Creating the impossible, Japan's first transistor radio when experts said it couldn't be done. Inventing personal music, the Walkman revolutionized how people experience music. Turning betrayal into triumph, Nintendo's betrayal led to PlayStation's success. Building an entertainment kingdom, movies, music, games, and electronics working together. Key vocabulary to remember. Ruins, buildings or places that have been destroyed. Innovation, creating new ideas or products that never existed before. Portable, easy to carry from place to place. Betrayal, when someone you trust breaks their promise. Revolutionary, completely new and changing everything. The most important lesson: dreams can survive even in the darkest times. Sony showed that you don't need perfect conditions to start something great. You just need vision, persistence, and the courage to try again after failures. Questions for reflection. What dreams do you have that seem impossible right now? How can you turn your failures into information for future success? What would you create if you weren't afraid of rejection? Remember Ibuka and Morita's promise. We will not follow the world, we will lead it. Your challenge: think of one small step you can take this week toward a dream that seems impossible. Sony started in a burnt room with broken chairs. Where will your empire begin? Sony's story proves that miracles are made by belief, hard work, and never giving up on your vision. Don't forget to like this video if Sony's story inspired you. Subscribe for more incredible business stories in English. And tell us in the comments, what impossible dream are you ready to start building today? Until next time, my wonderful English learners, remember, your start does not decide your finish. Your dreams and determination do.